let's do that. Collabora Online then. This is really, yeah, our baby, I suppose, which is cool. And it's built on top of the LibreOffice technology, which I've talked about already. It's free software, open source software. That's the key. It's very rich in terms of functionality. It's highly secure, extremely interoperable, and allows you then to collaborate around your documents on premise. Here's what it looks like in one incarnation, which is fun. So you have a sidebar on the right-hand side there, allowing you some quick access to lots of tools. And this view you have a notebook bar at the top, offering sort of tabbed palettes of tools that are familiar to many. And then, of course, you have the excitement of your document and commenting inside around that. Of course, same thing for slides. Here you see it's more of a sort of traditional toolbar, a view that you'll be familiar with from, say, Google Docs. And yeah, document editing collaboratively going on there at speed. Similarly, of course, spreadsheets. So the three vital components there. And, you know, an extremely powerful spreadsheet calculation engine, lots and lots of functionality there for everyone. You know, the full gamut of formulae, if indeed the formulae are the thing that makes spreadsheets work. Actually, spreadsheets are fundamentally a problem of corner cases and weird interactions of one formula with another. So all of that working nicely, and I guess people are familiar with that from LibreOffice, but with some particularly nice sidebar pieces there too to make it easy to edit. What else? So then, of course, there's a mobile phone. So one of the things that that we have here, let me just flick back, is having the sidebar piece here with lots of the most common functionality embedded inside it. So it's then very easy to use, you know, the things that people most commonly use. And what we do on a mobile phone is we take that and we then wrap those sections into tabs, and we provide the same functionality in a way that it can be used with one hand. So, you know, simple color pictures, many more diving menus going down there to use the limited screen estate are rather better on the device. But all the familiar things you expect, you know, inserting things, changing properties on selections, and so on. Obviously, more powerful things, you know, charts, chart editing and functionality there, slide layouts that you won't find in alternate products, particularly on mobile, and even master page editing, I believe we have there. And then a kind of a menu system as well, a hamburger menu system hidden out of the way. And we see this deployed very widely on lots of phones out there. We also have a native version of the same code so that it will run Collabora Online effectively on your device and then allow you to use it again in the same mobile form factor. So, of course, you can't collaborate with that nearly as easily. Of course, it's integrated with Nextcloud, so you can share your files and sync them. But in terms of live collaboration, that's not working as well. But then if you're online, that also integrates beautifully into your Nextcloud, so you can do the live collaboration online. So, yeah, but just reusing the same code and providing it in all form factors. And the same thing for them for tablets, lots of powerful things there. And, of course, the Chromebooks. So our mobile phone app, of course, has the whole functionality hidden inside it there. The same responsive UI can then be used to provide a very similar rich PC editing experience on Chrome OS, which is extremely powerful and useful if you have Chrome OS. So that's all good. That's the functionality. But if you want to get it, you know, it's really important that we can sell in a smooth and seamless way to our partners. So we sell through partners by strong preference. And Nextcloud is, of course, an awesome partner. We work regularly, very regularly together, joint meetings weekly. And we also sell not just private, but professional services through them. I should learn to spell services. And that then allows you as a customer to acquire, you know, through a single customer interaction. And it means you don't have a blame game problem. So let me talk about a bank I was working at in some years ago. And, you know, you look around the room and everybody is working for a different company. You know, there's even people that seem to be working for the same bank have been outsourced to random other companies. And complexity is everywhere. And it's useful to have someone to say, yeah, actually, it's me. It's our fault. You know, we need to go and fix it. And so it's exactly not like everybody pointing at each other. You have a single neck to choke, or a single point of contact that can then give you that secure relationship and the safety of knowing there's someone there to fix your issues. So, of course, we really focus on being easy to deploy. There's no point in having beautiful software if no one can use it. So one of the things that we do is that we store all of our state back into Nextcloud itself. So our authentication is done by Nextcloud as well. And we use a standard protocol for that, or a protocol based on a standard protocol called WAPI, which is Microsoft's protocol for this. We sit behind your existing load balancer. And it's relatively simple. You just need to make sure that each of those documents, everybody editing the same document comes into the same node. So we load balance on a thing called WAPI source, and we pin that to a server. So hopefully this works very well. And it does mean that we can do some really nice things. So, for example, we can have incremental upgradability. So if you want to upgrade to the latest version, you know, there's a security release or there's some new feature function thing that you need, what we can do is quite simple. We just remove one of the nodes from the load balancer, so no new documents will go to it. And then we can either wait for the existing documents that are being edited to expire. Obviously, people give up editing after a while, documents, or we can shut it down. And as we shut it down, those documents will be saved, and they'll be saved back to Nextcloud. And as we evict those users, they'll reconnect through the load balancer to a new node, reload that document, and reconnect to it. And so then essentially you can move your users across your cluster to rebalance it. And you can upgrade that node, reinsert it into the balancer pool, and just carry on as normal. So that's extremely powerful functionality. And so when we see that used in reality out there, there's an example here, Surfdrive have, I think, 66,000 users or so, nearly 60 institutes, and getting some excellent availability. There's no need for your service to go down to upgrade. And here's some pictures of a 40,000 user deployment in terms of active usage and memory and so on. We have some great guides on how to install. So we can do this with packages if you like raw bare metal stuff. Of course, you can even build it yourself if you particularly want a Gen 2 style experience. Bad for manageability, but possible. We have pre-made Docker images. There's a code Docker image, and of course you can build your own from our supported packages. We have instructions for that, and also a Docker image repository if you need that. And you can use Kubernetes to balance that and even dynamically load balance what's going on. And then there's lots of different ways to do that, spreading the load through reverse proxies. So one of the things that we do in our design is that we count on CPUs getting quicker and servers, and also networks getting better. But we don't count on your mobile device, being absolutely extraordinary. So on relatively old devices, we don't have to download a whole Office suite written in JavaScript to your device and just in time compile that, and then download the document, which can be quite large. Some of the documents, 20, 30, 40 megabytes. Not having to download that and then load and interpret that into the phone's memory and then try and render that and adapt to that. Instead, of course, we render it on the server. And so we can then use your data center's power to save your mobile device's battery and just get a far more responsive and interactive experience. And because of the technology stack we use, we can do things like, of course, threading your CPU, your calculation of your spreadsheet easily. So you can get very fast, accelerated experience of live productivity software, which is great because this gives some very, very large performance improvements there, which is kind of cool. And we're constantly performance analyzing and profiling and compressing all of this good stuff to make it snappy. So demand scaling. So there's an example here of One-on-One, which is sort of one of the largest hosters in Europe. You can watch their talk on dealing with this, and they're dynamically load scaling Collabora Online Kubernetes. Something like 100+ instances of Collabora Online out there serving their very large number of users. And doing really, really well there with lots and lots of documents and editing. Do go and see the talk. Another thing that we can do, of course, is do document conversion. So we see this quite a lot. There are lots of systems out there that spit out documents, and then maybe for record you want a spreadsheet, but also a PDF, and you want to archive this in different ways or provide it through a banking app interface, or even invoicing. So we support people that have invoicing flows that rely on very precise positioning of glyphs inside PDFs, because people then do screen scraping on them to plug them into other financial systems. Amazing that our financial systems work in this way, but anyway, so it turns out. So sort of grabbing and converting those documents coming out the back end of financial systems can be helpful. And also for thumbnailing. So when you use Nextcloud, you can see there are lots of beautiful thumbnails of all of your documents, so you can easily see what's going on. And so that's something that we do a lot. So what else? Oh, I'm watching for any questions here, because I guess I'm coming to the end. Security. Oh, yeah. Okay. So one of the things that we do allow is macro programming and scripting, and so that's pretty cool. People can be a bit concerned about that, obviously. So we isolate each of our documents into its own CH root jail that has almost nothing in it, like no executables, no tools that could be problems, no shell, and this sort of thing. But either way, we turn the scripting off by default. But then, of course, you can use that if you really want to, and that works quite nicely. Other things, anonymization for logging. So weirdly, we have customers that either don't trust their sysadmins, or that they want to ensure that it's that their data is stored in two parts. So that their logs are in one place, and that they can then work out what was going on in the logs in another place. So so we'll anonymize and hash with a random salt that you can configure all the URLs, paths, file names, usernames, this kind of things, and have those all obfuscated. Obviously, we need to send real usernames to the app so that you can show who you're collaborating with and their names. But beyond that, not having that in the logging can be helpful. And if you have a GDPR footprint, that can be very useful to help you comply. I mean, other things, security perspective, our defect density is something like 0.00 in static checking. I mean, static checking is not everything, but this defect density is lower than the Linux kernel we're running on, which is, well, that's encouraging. And we try and keep it there. We also do load loop exports, validate, testing. So we have something like 120,000 files plus that we've scraped from everywhere. And these are not just any file. These are the problem files. These are the ones that we know are horrible, that have some bad issue associated with them, or that have caused issues in the past. And we then try and validate all of these. And often this finds bugs that our fuzzers are then finding, shortly afterwards. But beyond that, we then use all sorts of exciting fuzzers. So we use LLVM and yes, American Fuzzy Loth, as it's known, that's found absolutely loads of problems. And one of the nice things is that Google, through this OSS Fuzz program, invests heavily in a large cluster of machines, some thousands of them, that sit there aggressively attacking our software and trying to get through all of these code paths to keep us ahead of the bad guys. And it was interesting because the bad guys used to be able to catch up by running these fuzzers with us, and we would get reports that we had just found in fuzzing and hadn't fixed yet in the past. But the scale of Google's investment there really helps us stay ahead of that, which is kind of cool. Now, one of these things it's doing is really sort of evolutionary fuzzing. It's kind of AI finding the problems and then building a corpus by breeding documents together to make massive, complex problems. And then taking that back, having found the problem, and gone through all of your code and watched every branch it's going through, it will then go backwards and make sure this test only goes through the branches that lead directly to the crash, which is kind of cool. So we turned on a filter some time ago and discovered that, actually with this null dereference, which is not a real security bug, it'll get it down to a 95-byte file. So, you can see there's some funky stuff going on here in terms of closing things in the wrong order and new tabs and this kind of thing. And this will then fail, or this kind of, number of decimal places. But you can get a human readable thing out of it your QA department is never going to find in 1,000 years. Absolutely wonderful to have that automated testing going out there. If you're interested in security, please do subscribe to our advisories for Office and online. And we have a newsletter around that. What else? Oh, yeah. So before I shut up, I'm open to questions. We have a few professional services. We really prefer to have a product relationship with our customers. We prefer to talk to them and find out what they want and to schedule all of that work for our whole customer base and make everyone happy. But of course, sometimes people want a very specific thing. So we've done some amazing things. So for AMD, for example, we almost totally rewrote the spreadsheet core in LibreOffice and hence Collabora Online, and saved a vast amount of memory, made that multi-threaded, made it possible actually to compile that on your GPU. So using OpenCL, we can compile formally and run them there. It's quite awesome. One of our customers wanted a totally new user experience for our responsive mobile app, which is the experience you now see, interestingly. So we completely rewrote that for them and created that product. But other things, just governments, military. So the document classification thing there allows you to classify documents at a high security level or a low security level, and then control through digital signatures what classification those are, which is kind of awesome. New platforms, new rendering infrastructure. Another thing we do is train developers on the code base so that your staff can then contribute and work alongside ours if that's something you like. And that's pretty much it. That's my Collabora lightning talk. Thank you for listening. Are there any questions from anyone of any kind? If not, Mike will be doing some demos in Russian later, which you can look forward to, seeing how it all works and pans out. Alexander, do you have a question?
Yeah, I have personally the question about compatibility
Sure.
with Office documents. So how you track this type of compatibility? Do you have some examples, samples of documents, and how you use, for example, unit test or something like this to understand that compatibility is not broken?
Yes, definitely. So those are great questions. So, and let me just get rid of my slides here and switch to you so I can see you at the same time, which makes my life much better. I'll turn off my weird duplicate screen to the side. So, yes, we have a very large number of unit tests that we run typically during the build. So every time, so we have a CI infrastructure around LibreOffice. And this is really a core LibreOffice question. So we have, I forget how many thousands of unit tests there. But it's typical that for those interop tests, what we do is we load the document, check the feature is, the feature function is there, save the document, reload the document, check it's still there, and then we run those in a headless way as we compile. So there are tests, there are various unit tests, there are integration tests, there's subsequent tests, and the big builds do a lot of these in the background to make sure that we don't regress. Against that, of course, sometimes we we poke our friends at Microsoft and say, hey, we're trying to work out what's going on. We're just implementing interoperability feature for this. And they go, that's a bug. Don't do that. We're going to fix our product instead. So yeah, I don't know. Like not every problem is our problem, which is worth understanding. Does that help?
Yes.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nicholas.
Oops. Sorry, something like.
No problem. Nicholas, do you have a question?
It's from other.
Oh, it's from another
stream.
It's from another audio stream. Ah, never mind. I think we've come to the end. If there are not other questions, I'm very happy to answer questions. Do just email me or get in touch.
And thank you. Your presentation was so good and very expressive on the main stage and on this talk, and you so powerful, and you bring a lot of information, and it's really helpful.
Well, I can't do it without the team behind me, which Mike is an important part of. So it's a wonderful group of guys at Collabora. So thank you. Lovely to be here.